Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with another Pioneer deck tech, and today we're going to be talking about Rakdos Lizards. I'm very excited to bring this list to you. As always, at the end of the video, let me know in the comment section below, is there a sweet lizard or something I forgot to put in this deck that I definitely should have, or do you have suggestions for upcoming videos? Just let me know in the comment section. So, a couple things before we hop into here too. So, I think this might be my favorite of the Bloomborough list that I've done so far, and maybe even gonna do after this video. So far we did mice, we did the rabbit deck, and then we also did bats. So if you haven't checked out those videos, definitely check them out after this one for sure. The other thing is this deck went through so many different renditions when I was building it. So initially, when spoiler season first started, I like to build like concept decks, and then as more cards get spoiled, I like to upgrade them. So with this one, I originally had it as a cavalcade of Calamity deck for honestly quite some time, and then pretty much the last day of spoiler season, we got some really sweet lizards that ended up having me pivot the deck into a slightly different aggro deck, which will make sense in a moment here, but I just wanted to mention that this deck changed quite a bit, but I would say the core of it is still pretty much the same as it was before. So, okay, let's go ahead and hop into here. So our 1-drops, what are we playing in this deck? So we're playing 4 Hired Claw, 4 Scorch Spitter, and 4 Iridescent Vine Lasher. So Hired Claw is pretty much the main inspiration for this deck. Whenever you attack with one or more lizards, Hired Claw deals 1 damage to each opponent, and then it's got the nice activated ability there where you can put some counters on it if an opponent has been dealt damage, which isn't very hard considering its ability there. So we're also playing Scorch Spitter. So I know what you're thinking, like, oh hey, Hired Claw's it's just a better Scorch Spitter. And you're 100% correct, but I wanted 8 of this effect, so that's why we're also playing the Scorch Spitter. And yes, again, it's strictly worse than Hired Claw, but unfortunately we can't play 8 Hired Claws. Until we can do that, we're still going to play the 4 Scorch Spitter. I thought about also playing maybe Hall Monitor. I ended up cutting it pretty late into the deck overall, but I decided to ultimately cut it because I really wanted the Scorch Spitter with the Hired Claw, because I mean, hey, being able to do all that damage is just absolutely insane. And then our other 1-drop is Iridescent Vine Lasher. 1/2 for 1. Whenever a land you control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to target opponent, and then it has the Offspring potential there. I really do like this card. It's sweet. When every time we play lands, deals extra damage, which can be pretty nice. You know, like let's say we're late game, trying to draw some gas, and if we have this in play, hey, worst case scenario, we draw a land and we at least get to deal a little bit extra damage to our opponents. So definitely a huge fan of the Iridescent Vine Lasher as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at our 2-drops here, which I really love the 2-drops in this deck. We're playing 4 Flamecash Gecko, 3 Fireglass Mentor, and 4 Gev Scaled Scorch. Okay, so Flamecash Gecko was one of the late cards that was spoiled that had me kind of pivot this deck, and Gev also was, but we'll talk about that in a moment. I really do like Flamecash Gecko. It's essentially a Burning Tree Emissary for lizards. And once again, it's if an opponent lost life is when we activate, when we get the mana ability there. You know how hard that is to do? It's not hard to do at all, because guess what? We have a whole bunch of our creatures on the first slide there that are going to deal a damage on the following turn that we play. We play them turn 1, and then boom, we either attack or we play a land and we deal a damage. They're going to be taking damage. So then we get we get the black and the red mana there, which lets us either play Fireglass Mentor or Gev Scaled Scorch very easily, or worst case scenario, we just activate its own ability to discard a card and draw a card. We have an extra land, we have an extra random creature that we don't want or something like that. We can chain a couple of Flamecash Geckos. We can go like a gecko into like Gev or Fireglass Mentor, whatever. It doesn't even matter. This card is really good, and I'm very excited to be able to play it in this deck because it is sweet. I also really like Fireglass Mentor. This is one of the few cards that was it was spoiled right at the beginning of spoiler season, and it was in the deck, and it never actually left because I love this card. 2/1 for 2. At the beginning of your second main phase, if an opponent lost life this turn, exile the top 2 cards of your library, choose one of them. Until end of turn, you may play that card. Boom. Yeah, that card is sweet. I really love Fireglass Mentor. It's kind of like pseudo card draw. It's more of like a Reckless Impulse, and you get to choose one of them. But this card is sweet. That's why we're playing the 3 copies of it. And Gev, oh my goodness. I think that this probably is the best card in the deck. Man, all right, 3/2 for 2. We're already up to a good start. Ward, pay 2 life. Boom. All right. Other creatures you control enter with an additional 1/1 counter on them for each opponent who lost life this turn. So, okay, all of our lizards, they're going to come in with some extra power and toughness. That's already pretty good. Okay. Whenever you cast a lizard spell, Gev Scaled Scorch deals 1 damage to target opponent. Okay, so we're going to cast a lizard spell. Boom. We're going to deal a damage to our opponent. the creature's going to come in automatically with an additional 1/1 counter because they lost life because we cast a lizard spell. So, I mean, yeah, Gev is really good. I think it's the best card in the deck, hands down. That's why we're playing a full 4 copies of it, and I really like it. The art's pretty cool. It's just a solid card. I'm a huge fan of Gev. I really do like this card, and again, that's why we're playing the full 4 copies. So let's go and take it the last slide of our lizards here. So we're also playing 4 Magebane Lizard and 4 Flamecaller. Okay, so Magebane Lizard is, again, one of the only lizards that was not in Bloomborough that's actually still in the deck. But man, this card is absolutely incredible. 1/4 for 2. Whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, Magebane Lizard deals damage equal to that player, equal to the number of non-creature spells they've cast this turn, which is just really good against any deck that plays a lot of non-creatures. That's really what it is. If you're playing against Izzet Phoenix, so for instance, if you're playing against Izzet Phoenix, and they're trying to bring back their Arclight Phoenixes, they're going to take 6 damage because they're going to take 1 from their op, they're going to take 2 from their other spell they cast, and then they Treasure Cruised, and boom. So they're going to take 6 damage as a whole right there from Magebane Lizard, which is absolutely incredible. Magebane Lizard also, for those who are unaware, is a very good sideboard card in the format. Pretty much every red aggro deck is playing it in the sideboard because it is just that good. I'm actually playing in a bunch of my Pioneer lists right now. I love Magebane Lizard. The best part about it is it just happens to be a lizard. It's already an incredible card, and then we get to play it in our sweet lizard deck. So definitely a huge fan of Magebane Lizard. And then the Valley Flamecallers. So this is part of the reason I ended up cutting the Cavalcades kind of late into this deck because I really like this card. 3/3 for 3. If a lizard, mouse, otter, or raccoon you control would deal damage to a permanent player, it deals that much +1. So that means all of our pingers, like our like the Scorched Spitter, that deals an extra damage. Our Magebane Lizard deals an extra damage. This card is really good, and also it's technically a 4/3. People kind of forget that. It's not really a 3/3 because obviously if it deals an extra damage, you know, well, it deals damage, it gets the extra 1. So it's basically a 4/3 for 3. Just kind of keep that in mind. This card's really sweet. I love Valley Flamecaller. It's nuts with all of our early drops. Obviously it helps with the landfall one that I'm forgetting the name of all of a sudden. It deals the extra damage. So again, this card is just really, really good. Huge fan of Valley Flamecaller. So we do have a couple of non-lizards we got to talk about real quick though, but there's only 2. We're playing 4 Play with Fire and 4 Light Up the Stage. It's really simple. Play with Fire is obviously a fantastic burn spell. Light Up the Stage is so easy to get the spectacle cost on because we have all these attack triggers and we have the landfall triggers and we have the Magebane Lizard. I mean, it is not hard. It's not hard to get the spectacle cost on this at all. And one thing I really like about this deck is how many ways we have to like exile cards and like potentially just keep the gas flowing, which I think is relatively rare for like, especially red aggro decks for the most part, unless you're going out of your way and playing like Reckless Impulse and such. So I really do like Light Up the Stage in this deck. I think it is fantastic. So those are all the non-land cards in our deck. Let's go and hop into the lands real quick here, which it's a pretty simple mana base. We're playing 4 Blackleaves Cliffs, 4 Blood Crypts, and 3 Blightstep Pathways, our main dual lands. We're also playing 3 Den of the Bugbear, 4 Raminep Ruins, and we are playing the Spikefield Hazard. I kind of half considered a land, half a spell kind of thing, but still good nonetheless. And then rounding out our lands, we are playing 1 Sakenzen and 1 Mountain. We're largely a red deck. We do have a handful of black spells, obviously, in our deck. So we really just need like 1 dual land, and like we're pretty much good to go for the most part. And as our spicy basic land of the day, I decided to feature this specific art from Bloomborough. I've been featuring the Bloomborough arts for the last couple deck techs just because it makes sense. They're all Bloomborough decks. And I really like the fiery scene back there. And, you know, I look at this art and I'm like, yeah, there's definitely a whole bunch of lizards hanging out on Bloomborough in that area. So definitely a huge fan of the artwork. So, all right, don't go anywhere yet, though. We still have to talk about our sideboard as well as some budget alternatives that we can do to make our deck a little bit cheaper. So, sideboarding is going to be really, really simple for this deck. We're going to want some graveyard hate. You could play Leyline of the Void because we are a black deck, but I personally would play Tormod's Crypt just because it is a little bit cheaper in terms of the actual casting it. Thoughtseize is really good. We are a Rakdos deck, so boom, we have our sideboarded Thoughtseizes. We're going to want some cheap removal. I personally would recommend either cards like Rending Volley, Torch the Tower, or even Scorching Shot. I think those are both fantastic options. Really just depends on your overall metagame as a whole, but if you want to know what I'm playing in my sideboard, it's going to be in the link in the description below. We're also going to want some anti-life gain. We are a really fast aggro deck. Our opponent is going to be bringing in cards that help gain them life. Bring in Rampaging Ferocidon. It's the best way to stop our opponent from gaining any sort of life. It's good against the Amalia combo, good against Angels, good against anything that says target player gains life. We're going to want the Rampaging Ferocidons. And the last thing we have to talk about here is the budget options, which is really simple. Cut the Blood Crypts, cut the Thoughtseizes, cut any of the expensive dual lands. That's really all you got to do. Cut the Sekenzen if you want to trim a little bit. That's it. Swap the Blood Crypts out for, I don't know, like Sulphurous Springs or some other random Rakdos dual land. That's all you gotta do. Thoughtseize turns into Duress. No problem at all. You could also swap the Rampaging Ferocidons for a Giant Cindermaw. Also a fantastic option. The last thing I want to mention is the current list as it's constructed right now is only $194 US, which is absolutely insane. That is super cheap for a deck. Again, the entire cost is basically just in like the Thoughtseizes, in the Blood Crypts, and a couple of the other dual lands. That's it. If you take out all those pricey dual lands, this deck is incredibly cheap. And that's why we can get this deck down to only $60, which is just absolutely fantastic. So if you're someone that likes lizards or like red base aggro decks or Rakdos aggro or anything, I think this is going to be the deck for you. Bloomburrow gave us so many cool lizard cards from this set. And honestly, there's a whole bunch of lizard cards I never even featured in the deck, like Laughing Jasper Flint. Like, there are some sweet lizard cards that you could still play in this deck if you want to customize it a little bit. So let me know in the comment section below if you do actually end up playing either this lizard deck or you have a lizard deck of your own. Let me know in the comment section below. I want to know your thoughts on that. So, all right, that takes us to the end of the video here. Thanks so much for watching. The deck lists are in the description below if you'd like to check them out. We obviously have the regular list and the budget list. Huge shout out to our channel members, Ralph, Matt, Arcadius, Ray, Gary, and Sarwanoki. If you're interested in being a channel member, it's only $1 US a month. You get access to the exclusive Discord as well as other features here on the channel. So, I'm Commander Crane. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope to catch you in the next one.